Each scene focuses on our hapless, well-intentioned, yet wonderfully clueless salesman, Marv McFeely, who's desperately trying to sell 20 cars in a month at a ramshackle used car dealership on the outskirts of San Bernardino. Expect plenty of double entendre, all uttered by Marv without him ever realizing how they sound. Enjoy! Scene 1. The Ultimatum at Shifty Mike's Auto Bazaar. Marv. McFeely had been a car salesman at Shifty Mike's Auto Bazaar for 3 years, but his sales numbers were steadily dropping, like a mismatched bumper clinging by a single screw to a rusted '91 sedan. All around him, his colleagues boasted about the fast deals they were closing, whereas Marv, bless his heart, could hardly give away even the squeakiest jalopy without throwing in a couple of questionable incentives. It didn't help that Shifty Mike's Auto Bazaar was planted squarely at the seediest outskirts of San Bernardino, right next to an abandoned donut shop, rumored to have once been a front for counterfeit hair gel. The tar-black asphalt on the dealership's lot had so many potholes that customers would trip on them if they weren't careful, which sometimes gave them a negative test drive experience before they even saw the cars. The main office building, a single wide trailer that had Shifty Mike's, where the price is right or might be slight, painted across it, was just as dismal inside as out. Crooked blinds, faded 1980s posters of long-forgotten car models, and the faint smell of burnt coffee intermingled with cheap cologne. The place screamed, "Buyer beware," but folks around these parts knew they could get a car here for less than half of the going rate, especially if they didn't mind a few little issues, like missing rear-view mirrors or transmissions that occasionally decided to rest in peace. Marv was a short, lanky man with an earnest face and a perpetual grin. He had hair that was best described as a sun-bleached mop, which was now thinning just enough to reveal a shiny scalp whenever he was under those harsh fluorescent lights. When he spoke, he flailed his arms in excited arcs, completely unaware that every second word out of his mouth might be misinterpreted by anyone with a suggestive mind. On this particular morning, Marv shuffled into the main office. His boss, the ever-slick proprietor, Shifty Mike, was waiting. Mike was a towering, pot-bellied man with a pencil mustache that seemed glued onto his upper lip. He wore gold rings the size of golf balls, an oversized dress shirt with the top 3 buttons undone, and enough hair gel to sink a battleship. He leaned on his desk, arms folded over his paunch, and gave Marv a look that was less than friendly. "Marv," Mike began, taking a slow drag from a half-smoked cigar. "You sold only 5 cars last month. 5? That's only 2 more than the 3 I personally had to push off the lot for scrap." Marv nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "Yes, sir. But let me explain. My grandmother—" "I don't care if your grandmother invented the catalytic converter," Mike interrupted. "I need men who can seal the deal. Got that? Now, I'm giving you 1 month, 30 days, to sell at least 20 cars, or else—" He flicked the ash of his cigar onto the linoleum floor. "You're done, and I'll replace you with some kid on commission who at least knows what social media is." Marv's brow creased with worry, but then that unstoppable optimism overtook his face. "Sir, I promise I'll perform. I'll put the time in, get on top, and make it happen daily. I'll get all 20 in a row. I've got a brand new approach to describing cars that's sure to blow the doors off any potential buyer." Shifty Mike raised an eyebrow. "Blow the doors off, huh? Well, I guess if you can find folks who like that sort of talk, be my guest. But I'm warning you, no more slip-ups." Marv, not hearing the innuendo, earnestly nodded. "I'll blow them right into the driver's seat if I have to, sir. Believe me, I've practiced all sorts of lines that'll get them excited." Mike just stared, shaking his head. "Just go. Get out of my sight and sell something, or your history." With his job on the line and a new, creative approach fresh in his mind, Marv stepped back onto the lot. Rows of cars from the early 1990s up to, at best, mid-2000s lined the potholed asphalt, each with huge neon stickers. "As is," no returns, and hot and ready, test drive today. Marv walked past them, patting each hood fondly, as if encouraging the neglected automobiles to hold together just a little longer. He was determined to find a way to pitch these rust buckets so that they appeared luxurious, and if that required employing suggestive turns of phrase he had read in a questionable marketing book, then so be it. He took a seat in the battered fold-out chair near the main gate, next to a drooping balloon that read, "Welcome to Shifty Mike's," where the S had peeled off. Now it looked like Hifty Mike's, which was ironically more honest. As he wiped the sweat off his brow, San Bernardino was a scorcher this time of year, he quietly rehearsed. "I'll say, step on in. The ride is sweet. She purrs so smooth you'll want to slide right in and grip it firmly," he muttered. "That's strong, right? People like strong." Little did he know how this brand new approach, riddled with unintentional double entendres, would lead him through a comedic series of interactions with customers, co-workers, and indeed Shifty Mike himself. Marv was about to embark on the biggest month of his life, praying that these lines would bail him out and keep him employed, even if he never quite realized how risque they sounded. He was determined. He'd sell 20 cars, come hell or high water, and soon enough, that water was about to start rising. Scene 2. First customer, first fiasco. On the morning after receiving his ultimatum, Marv sprang out of bed with gusto. He even wore his lucky tie, a turquoise polyester number dotted with cartoon palm trees. He'd always believed the tie brought him good luck, ignoring the fact that it was probably older than he was. Today, he was determined to snag his first sale of the month. As soon as he unlocked the chain-link gate leading to Shifty Mike's Auto Bazaar, he could see a potential customer stepping off the dusty sidewalk. She was a petite, middle-aged woman wearing large sunglasses that shielded half her face and an oversized sun hat that looked more appropriate for an English garden party. Marv beamed. "Ma'am," he called, rushing forward with an outstretched hand. "Welcome to Hifty Mike's. We got ourselves some sweet rides that'll get you revved up for an unforgettable experience." The woman cocked her head, uncertain about the meaning behind his words. "Oh, well, I'm just looking for something dependable for my teenage daughter," she said quietly, removing her sunglasses to get a better look at the vehicles. "She's about to get her license, so we need something safe and affordable. Nothing too fancy." "Oh, you've come to the right place," Marv insisted, motioning her grandly toward a row of battered sedans. "We've got plenty that'll get her primed for a smooth performance. Maybe something that's old but still knows how to handle all your curves on the road." A confused smile flickered across the woman's lips. "I guess that sounds good. What do you recommend?" Marv rubbed his chin theatrically. "Let's see. This here is a 1998 Honda Civic LX, a real classic for a newbie. She's got a nice shape, not too big, not too small, very easy to slip into tight spots." The woman blinked rapidly at this remark, but said nothing. So Marv pressed on. "When you turn her on," he went on, patting the hood, "she just hums without a hiccup. And once you're inside, you can feel how snug the interior is. It'll wrap right around you, which is great for a first-timer, if you ask me." "I see," said the customer, cheeks reddening slightly. "Does it, come with air conditioning?" "Oh, yes, definitely," Marv exclaimed. "You'll love how quickly she cools off after a few good blows from the front vents. And if you need a little help in the rear, there's a vent back there too, though sometimes it gets stuck in the open position, but you can jiggle it just right to close it. Very easy to handle, you just work it until you feel it click." At this, the woman let out an involuntary giggle. "It sounds convenient." Marv, oblivious, beamed. "It sure is. And the best part is, she's a thrifty drinker. Just sips the gas. Great if you're looking to keep your daughter's spending under control." "Yes, that's very important," she managed to say, through a tight-lipped smile. "How many miles does it have?" Marv glanced at the odometer through the window. "Ooh, She's got about 185,000, but she's been around the block enough times to know how to handle rough conditions. She's still got a lot of life in her. Trust me, once she warms up, she's got plenty of spunk. The woman coughed to cover up another nervous laugh. Well, that's, reassuring, I guess. Marv clapped his hands together. Great. Let's talk price then. Now, I can go easy on your wallet if you let me show you how to polish her up with some good old-fashioned elbow grease. It's best done regularly, you know. Keeps her shining, like massaging the right spots to keep them from sagging. Polish. Sagging. Right, the customer muttered, visibly fighting the urge to burst out laughing. So, about the price? Marv launched into a dramatic gesture. Mike wants $2,500, but I can work it down to $2,300 if you let me. Well, if I can interest you in some premium fluid replacements every 6 months, it's best to drain and fill her thoroughly to maintain performance. Fluid replacements, you say? The woman pressed her lips together. That sounds thorough. Marv winked proudly. Exactly. We do everything. Engine oil, transmission fluid, brake fluid, even top off the antifreeze. She'll be moist and ready for action. By now, the woman's face was turning several shades of pink. Realizing how outlandish this all sounded, she cleared her throat and said, "Why don't we take a test drive? I want to see how she handles, especially from 0 to about 40 miles per hour. That's probably all my daughter will need at first." Marv practically jumped with excitement. Excellent. You just hop in, give it a firm push, and you'll feel the vibrations come right through you once she starts purring. The woman paused, biting her lower lip in an attempt not to laugh. Then she slipped into the driver's seat. Marv hopped in beside her, adjusting his seatbelt. As they pulled out of the dealership, the Civic made a concerning rattling noise. "Oh, that's just her sweet nothings," Marv said soothingly. "She likes to moan a bit when you start, but after a minute or two, she loosens up and is good to go." The woman snorted, unable to contain her laughter. Yes, I suppose that's normal for a 1998 model." Totally missing her wry sarcasm, Marv nodded fervently. "Absolutely normal. She's flexible once you get her going. You won't believe how easy she is to handle. Even your daughter can slip in and out without trouble." Finally, the woman burst into laughter. Marv, happy that she was responding positively, just kept smiling. In his mind, he was rocking this sale, unaware that his unintentional innuendos were entertaining her for entirely different reasons. By the time they circled the block and returned to the dealership, she was ready to shake on the deal, partly because the price was decent, partly because she found Marv's clueless double entendre oddly charming. "So, do we have a deal?" Marv asked, pressing the pen into her hand. $2,300, and she's all yours, with an optional free rubdown next month if you want to come back for that. The woman suppressed a final giggle. "Yes, absolutely. I can't wait to see my daughter's face when we show her this sweet ride." Marv couldn't wipe the grin off his face as they completed the paperwork. "Wonderful. We'll just wrap up the details. You'll be leaving with a car that's guaranteed to give you satisfaction day in and day out." After she drove off, with a sputter that might have suggested otherwise, Marv pumped his fists in the air. First sale of the month, and it only took him a day. At this rate, he was sure he'd breeze through the remaining 19. Little did he know, the comedic saga had only begun. Scene 3. Boss's briefing and the second sale. Flushed with success from his first sale, Marv waltzed into Shifty Mike's cramped office, eager to boast. His boss, however, wasn't in a congratulatory mood. The overhead fan was sputtering weakly, and the lingering smell of stale cigar smoke gave the place a permanent haze. "You sold that old Honda, huh?" Mike mumbled, flipping through a binder. "Congrats, I guess. But you still got 19 cars to go, buddy. Don't forget, time's ticking. And if you think you're spending any more money on those ridiculous neon signs, guess again. We're already hemorrhaging enough." Marv nodded, adjusting the turquoise tie he still wore. Oh, I understand completely, but that Honda went like a dream. My new technique really got the buyer in the mood. For the sale, I mean. Mike shot him a suspicious glance. I'm not sure I want to know what technique you're talking about, but whatever. If you can keep it PG and make money, be my guest. Just make sure you're not offending anyone. The last thing I need is a lawsuit because you said something weird. Marv chuckled, clueless. Don't worry, I'm very friendly. I just emphasize all the qualities a customer wants to hear, you know? Sometimes, with these older cars, you really have to show them that there's a spark left, even if the exterior is a little rough. Mike sighed. Do what you gotta do. Just remember the corporate motto. Sell it cheap, sell it fast, don't get sued. Marv saluted in a playful manner and exited the office, stepping onto the boiling asphalt. The mid-afternoon sun was glaring overhead, but that didn't stop another brave soul from wandering onto the lot. A somewhat frazzled man in his mid-30s, sporting disheveled hair and a T-shirt that read, Dahanu One Dad, with coffee stains to prove his paternal exhaustion. Marv approached with an eager grin. Welcome to Shifty Mike's Auto Bazaar, sir. I'm Marv, your personal guide to an unforgettable ride. The man wiped sweat from his forehead. Hey, I'm Gary. I'm just looking for something cheap, man. My old van finally died, and I need wheels to get to work. Say no more, friend, Marv declared, bounding toward a row of minivans. Right this way. We've got a couple of vans that have had plenty of owners but still put out reliably. Here's a 2002 Dodge Caravan that might tickle your fancy. Big, roomy, and sturdy. Perfect for a family man like yourself. Gary raised an eyebrow. Well, it looks kind of beat up. That side panel is, like, dented in. Marv tapped the dent gently. A little ding here and there just means she's lived a full life. But don't worry, you can still get in and fill her up from behind. Gas tank's accessible, see? He pointed to the rear gas cap, oblivious to the possible misreading of his statement. And the sliding door still opens wide. With a gentle push, it'll go all the way, no problem. Gary coughed. That's good, I guess. My kids definitely want easy access. Marv nodded enthusiastically. Kids love it when they can hop right in without fuss. Plus, once you get her started, you'll feel how she vibrates just enough to let you know she's running smoothly. That's the best part. No confusion. You'll always feel it. Gary chuckled under his breath, eyeing Marv suspiciously. Yeah, so, what about the seats? Are they removable? Oh, definitely, Marv declared, opening the rear hatch. They pop right out if you give them a good tug. In fact, you can do it yourself if you're strong enough. Just yank hard at the right angle and they'll slide right off, nice and easy. Gives you all that extra space for loading up big items. Trust me, once you get used to removing those seats, it'll become second nature. Ha, Gary said, stifling a grin. Might come in handy for hauling stuff. How's the mileage? Marv opened the driver's door and squinted at the odometer. A fair bit, about 165,000. But she's still got some pep in her step. If you rev her enough, you'll hear a strong roar from up front. Some folks like that. Let's take her for a spin so you can see if she hits your sweet spot. Gary nodded, sliding into the driver's seat. The interior smelled of stale French fries and cheap air freshener, but Gary seemed unfazed. Marv climbed into the passenger seat and fumbled with his seatbelt. Now, when you're ready, just turn her on, Marv instructed. You might have to jiggle the key in the ignition. She likes a little foreplay. Gary, half laughing, obliged. The van roared to life with a guttural cough. Wow, that's loud, he remarked. She's a bit of a screamer, especially in the morning, Marv explained. But once you ease into her, she'll quiet down and purr like a kitten. Just treat her gently at first, then give her a firm push, and you'll really feel her potential. Sounds workable, Gary responded, fighting laughter. Let's see how she does on the road. They pulled out onto the street, the van rattling as if every screw needed tightening. Marv, ever the optimist, chatted away. You see, he pointed to the dashboard. Once she heats up, the AC actually gets quite blowy. Just give it a minute or two, and you'll feel it pumping real good. And if she starts to sputter, you just have to coax her a bit with some easy acceleration. She responds best to a gentle touch. Gary took a deep breath, trying not to burst out laughing. He gave Marv a sideways glance. So, do you offer any kind of warranty? Marv shrugged apologetically. We, don't exactly do warranties here, but I can offer you a courtesy visit with our mechanic, Manny, who can fill all your fluids for free the first time. After that, you gotta pay. But Manny's real thorough. He'll poke around until he finds the sweet spot. Gary nodded, not daring to comment on Manny's thoroughness. After a short drive, they returned to the lot. The van, battered though it was definitely cheap, and Gary was on a tight budget. So, let's get down to business, Marv said, pulling out a battered clipboard. I can let her go for $1,600 if you let me handle your finances. Meaning, if you do our in-house payment plan. That way, you can play with the numbers monthly. Gary eyed him. In-house plan? So you guys hold the note? Exactly. We hold it all, Marv explained. And we'll be gentle, I promise. Interest rate is fairly stiff, but we won't hammer you too hard if you need to go longer. Gary bit his lip, inadvertently letting a laugh slip through. Stiff interest, but no hammering too hard. Got it. Marv smiled. You bet. So we got a deal. Deal, Gary said, signing on the dotted line. I need a van ASAP. It might not be a dream, but it'll get me where I'm going. Marv beamed. Great. She's all yours now. And remember, if you ever feel like she's not performing, come back in and we'll give her a good once-over. Manny loves a good deep inspection. Gary suppressed one final snicker as he took the keys. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Marv. And with that, Marv scored his second sale in as many days. He was practically dancing on the sweltering pavement, convinced that his new approach, spicing up those older vehicles with an exuberant, borderline suggestive pitch, was foolproof. Meanwhile, Shifty Mike watched from his office window, eyebrows furrowed, wondering what on earth Marv was telling people to make them sign so quickly. Scene 4. The Skeptical Mechanic. On the afternoon of his second sale, Marv found himself in the dealership's makeshift garage, a dilapidated shack behind the lot, where Manny the mechanic was busy working on a rusted Ford Taurus. Manny was a short, stocky, middle-aged man with an eternally grease-stained baseball cap and a moustache reminiscent of a 1970s detective. Marv bounded up to Manny, eager to share the good news of his successful day. Manny, you wouldn't believe how well this new technique is working. 2 sales in 2 days. Manny wiped his brow, leaving a dark streak of oil. Good for you, pal. Now, if only you'd stop overselling these old heaps. I've got more vehicles lined up for repairs than I have time. People come back complaining about issues that were never fixed in the first place. Marv waved a hand dismissively. Oh, Manny, these cars just need a little TLC. Once I find someone who's willing to give them the time they deserve, they work fine. It's like having an older partner. You got to treat 'em special if you want them to respond properly. Manny gave him a sideways look. Yeah, well, I wish you'd stop telling people I like to fill all their fluids with special vigor or something. Customers come in here giggling and asking for Manny's deep inspection. Makes me feel like I'm running some shady operation. Marv let out an oblivious laugh. But Manny, you are thorough. I always say, if you want the best results, Manny's the man to get in there, poke around, and keep you satisfied. Manny's moustache twitched with barely suppressed annoyance. You realize how that sounds, right? How what sounds? Marv asked. genuine confusion etched on his face. Manny sighed. Never mind. He tapped on a large metal toolbox. Look, I'm swamped, but I'll do my best to handle these requests. Just maybe tone it down a notch. Some people might take it the wrong way. Marv held up his hands. Sure thing, Manny. But trust me, I'm not doing anything weird. I'm just telling them the truth, that we handle everything from front to rear, top to bottom. Manny shook his head. Yeah, that's the problem. Just be careful, man. Just then, Shifty Mike appeared at the garage entrance, his gold rings reflecting the overhead fluorescent bulb. Marv, Manny, what's the hold-up on that Taurus? We got to get it off the lot by tomorrow if we want to list it. Slap a sticker that says, "One owner, gently used," on it. Manny muttered, "One owner, my left foot." This thing's probably had a dozen. Mike ignored him, instead focusing on Marv. You got 2 sales in 2 days, pal. That's good. But can you keep it up? We still got 18 more to go. Marv puffed up his chest. Mike, I'm unstoppable now. I just got to keep giving folks that sweet talk. They can't resist once I get them all hot and bothered. About the deals, I mean. Mike grimaced. That's good to hear. Just watch the language. We don't want anyone complaining about harassment or something. You know how sensitive some people can be. Marv nodded earnestly. I'll keep it strictly professional. I'm just telling them the truth. These cars may be a little worn, but once you get inside and ride, you'll see they've still got plenty of stamina left in them. Mike slapped a palm over his face. Ugh. Well, keep doing what you're doing, I guess. As long as it doesn't get me sued, I don't care. He turned on his heel and left, his shiny loafers clicking on the concrete. Manny pointed at the Taurus's open hood. All right, Marv, help me hold this belt in place while I tighten it, will you? Marv obliged, grabbing the serpentine belt. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Manny. Tighten her up, keep her from slipping, and she'll run just fine. He paused, eyebrows knitting together. Wait, did that sound questionable? Manny couldn't help but laugh. You're finally catching on? Marv looked distressed. Oh, no. Are my customers hearing stuff like that all the time? Manny shrugged. Pretty much, yeah. But they don't seem to mind. If anything, they find it amusing. Marv exhaled in relief. Well, as long as they're buying. I got to move 18 more cars, Manny. Help me keep them in shape so I can keep the pitches going. Manny nodded. Deal. Now let's get this done, so I can move on to the next piece of junk. They worked in companionable silence, with Marv occasionally humming the jingle for Shifty Mike's low-budget radio commercial. Shifty Mike's, we get you rolling, whatever it takes. Manny wondered if Marv's luck would hold, or if those constant slip-of-the-tongue remarks might eventually land him in hot water. Only time would tell. Scene 5. The Young Couple and the Clunker. Saturday morning brought a wave of new shoppers to Shifty Mike's Auto Bazaar, or at least a small wave, 3 or 4 families, a couple of solitary wanderers, and hopefully some prime marks for Marv's unstoppable car-selling spree. Among the potential customers was a sweet-looking young couple. They couldn't have been more than 22 or 23, holding hands and peering uncertainly at a line of used sedans. The girl had freckles and fiery red hair, while the guy wore thick-rimmed glasses and a T-shirt that said, "Support your local planetarium." In other words, not exactly the type to haggle for hours with a shady dealer. Marv popped up behind them, grin in full force. "Hello, folks. Marvelous Marv at your service. Looking for a set of wheels to whisk you off on your next adventure." They started, turning to face him. "Oh, hi," the girl said. "We're Courtney and Dylan. We just moved in together, and we need a car for everyday errands. Something reliable, but, cheap." Marv nodded sagely. "Right, I get it. You want something that can handle day-to-day grind without draining your wallet dry. Let me show you this lovely '99 Corolla." He led them to a faded green Toyota, sporting a dented door and scratched paint. It may not be the youngest filly in the stable, but trust me, once you mount her, you'll appreciate how solid she is beneath you. Courtney's freckles seemed to glow a deeper shade of red as she suppressed a giggle. Dylan coughed. Ah, that's nice. Marv nodded, pressing on. These old Toyotas can go and go if you keep them well lubricated. You just have to stick it in regularly for an oil change every 3,000 miles. She loves it when you put in fresh fluid. Courtney bit her lip, exchanging an amused glance with Dylan. I see. Well, how many miles does she have? Marv peeked in. A respectable 172,000, but don't let that number scare you. She's still got plenty of thrust, especially if you ease into the gas pedal just right. A gentle push, and you'll feel her respond with a nice smooth hum. Dylan cleared his throat, trying to stay composed. Right. That's important. We do a lot of city driving. Oh, she's perfect for that, Marv agreed. Her smaller size means you can squeeze into any space you find, no matter how tight. Parallel parking becomes a breeze. You'll just slip right in there. Courtney snickered, earning a side-eye from Dylan that said, Calm down. Marv, none the wiser, waved them over to the trunk. Plenty of room in the back for groceries or little extras. If you fold down the seats, you can extend that space even further, which is really helpful if you want to fill it all the way. I've seen couples get in there and, well, you can really pack it in if you try. Dylan nearly choked on air, while Courtney openly laughed now. Marv, you said your name was? Is there anything else we should know about this car? Marv scratched his head. Well, the AC works half the time, so if it's not blowing enough for you, just give the dial a good twist and keep playing with it until you find that sweet spot. And if the radio starts crackling, just whack it a bit. She responds well to a firm hand. Courtney pressed her palm against her mouth, tears of laughter threatening to escape. Yes, a firm hand. Got it. Marv beamed. So, you want to take her for a test ride? Dylan shrugged. Sure. Why not? He and Courtney hopped in, with Marv sliding into the back seat. Now, be gentle at first, Marv advised, as Dylan turned the key. The engine sputtered awake, then settled into a gravelly idle. She's a bit noisy, but once she's fully warmed, you'll hardly notice it. Just let her get comfortable, and then, if you want more power, don't be shy to push her harder. She can take it. Courtney burst into laughter, covering her mouth with one hand. Dylan grinned sheepishly. Marv, you sure know how to describe a vehicle. He smiled. Thank you. I pride myself on giving an accurate picture. I don't sugarcoat anything. I just tell it like it is. They took the car for a spin around the block, discovering that it drove passably well, albeit with a disturbing clunk whenever they braked. Marv explained that it was probably just a loose brake pad, nothing Manny couldn't handle with a quick inspection. When they returned to the lot, Courtney and Dylan huddled for a moment. Then Dylan turned to Marv. All right, we'll take it if the price is right. Marv rubbed his hands together. Wonderful. For a sweet young couple like you, I can drop the sticker from $1,800 to $1,650. That's a special discount, since I can tell you two really know how to treat an old gal. Courtney giggled. Yes, we do. Thank you, Marv. They filled out paperwork in the rickety office, with the AC sputtering overhead. Courtney tried not to make eye contact with the half-buttoned shirt of Shifty Mike, who oversaw the transaction with bored disinterest. In just under 15 minutes, the couple had themselves a battered green Corolla. As they got ready to drive off, Marv leaned in. Now remember, if she starts acting up, just come back for Manny's thorough service. He'll poke around until she's running smoothly again. No charge for the first time. Courtney was red in the face again, stifling laughter. Dylan gave Marv a polite grin. We'll keep that in mind. Thank you for all your help, Marv. As they disappeared down the dusty street, Marv folded his arms and sighed happily. That was the third sale of the month. With each successful transaction, he grew more confident that his inadvertently suggestive approach was reeling in customers by the dozen. What could possibly go wrong? Scene 6. Trouble with the neighborhood. By the end of the first week, Marv had sold 4 cars, a record for him. But the success was overshadowed by the growing tension in the dealership's surroundings. You see, Shifty Mike's location wasn't just in any old area of San Bernardino. It was in a strip known for abandoned warehouses, questionable shops, and occasional street brawls. The so-called sketchy neighborhood gave the dealership a shady vibe that even the best marketing couldn't mask. One sweltering afternoon, while Marv was outside polishing the hood of a decrepit Chevy Malibu, he noticed a group of tattooed men hanging around the chain-link fence, scowling at the row of cars. They whispered to each other and occasionally glanced in his direction. Feeling uneasy, Marv tried to focus on buffing out the rust. Suddenly, Shifty Mike appeared behind him, the ever-present cigar in hand. "Marv, you see those guys?" Marv nodded nervously. "Yeah, they've been staring for the last 10 minutes. Mike took a long drag, then blew the smoke out in a thin stream. "I don't like the look of them. They might be part of that group that's been tagging the local buildings. Last week, they came by asking for protection money." Marv's eyes widened. "Protection money? For what?" "Just the cost of doing business in this neighborhood," Mike grumbled. "I told them to shove off, but they might be back. So keep an eye out, and don't get yourself cornered. We can't afford trouble right now, especially if you're trying to move 20 cars." Marv gulped. "Got it, boss. I'll be careful." As the afternoon wore on, the tattooed men finally wandered away, but the unsettling vibe lingered. Customers who drove onto the lot seemed to sense the tension, either skipping out before talking to Marv or hurrying through the negotiations. That day, Marv didn't make a single sale. At closing time, he trudged into the office. "Boss, the day's a wash," he admitted. "Everyone's on edge because of those guys." Mike flicked a half-inch of ash onto the floor. "Yeah, well, you better learn how to sell even when folks are scared. This is your livelihood, remember?" Marv sighed, shoulders slumping. "I know, but maybe I should come up with a new approach, something that addresses the worry about the neighborhood." Shifty Mike shrugged. "Sure, whatever. Just don't spend money on brochures or something. We can't afford it. Now lock up." Marv nodded. "Right." He gathered his things, his lucky tie, which he carefully folded, and a small notepad where he jotted down potential new lines for pitching cars. As he walked through the dusty lot, locking the flimsy chain-link gate, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was in over his head. Could he really secure the remaining 16 sales in a place that seemed to repel customers? Still, he carried his usual optimism. "One off day doesn't mean anything," he told himself aloud. "Tomorrow, I'll blow them away with an even better pitch." He hopped on his outdated bicycle, ironic for a car salesman, but he couldn't afford a car of his own yet, and pedaled through the potholed streets toward his tiny apartment. The city lights of San Bernardino flickered in the distance, and he wondered how many more nights he'd have to do this before achieving real success, or getting fired. Scene 7. The Desperate Dad and a Broken-Down Pickup. The next morning, determined to shake off the lingering anxiety, Marv arrived bright and early. He laid out the day's plan. Approach anyone who even set foot on the lot, do whatever it took to make them feel comfortable, and definitely not mention the gang of tattooed men who might or might not reappear. He sipped a lukewarm cup of coffee, perched in his usual fold-out chair by the entrance, scanning the horizon for potential buyers. At around 9:30 a.m., a middle-aged man limped onto the lot, a distinct limp, as if he had an old injury. His expression was one of grim determination. Marv sprang to his feet. "Good morning, sir. Welcome to Shifty Mike's, where we put you in the driver's seat of your dreams." The man, sweaty and frowning, spat on the ground. I need a truck, something tough. I got two teenage sons who keep beating the hell out of my vehicles. Marv nodded sympathetically. Ooh, tough kids, huh? In that case, let me show you our finest pickup selection. He led the man to a battered Ford F-150 that had certainly seen better days. The paint was chipped, the tailgate hung at an odd angle, and the front grille was missing a few pieces. Now, don't judge her by appearances. She's a real sturdy beast underneath. The man surveyed it with skepticism. Looks like it's been around the block a few times. Marv slapped the tailgate. Sure has, but that just means she's experienced. She's had plenty of action, hauling loads up and down this region. She can definitely handle whatever you throw in her bed. The man grunted. Uh-huh. What about the engine? Marv hopped onto the side step, leaning into the open window. She's got a V8, so there's plenty of power. She'll explode with energy once you fire her up. And if you want to really test her, just push that pedal to the floor and see how she groans under pressure. The man rubbed his chin. I see. Well, does the air conditioning work? Summers get brutal around here. Marv tilted his head thoughtfully. The AC has been known to blow hot at first, but once you give her a minute or two, she'll come down to a nice, cool flow. And if it doesn't, Manny can flush it out. He loves pumping fresh coolant into systems that aren't blowing like they should. The man actually chuckled at that. Sounds like Manny's got his hands full. Oh, Manny's got hands, all right, Marv said cheerily, oblivious. He'll twist and tug until that AC unit is bursting with a strong, cool breeze. The customer shook his head, a grin tugging at his lips. You sure have a way with words, buddy. Mind if I take her out for a test drive? Be my guest, Marv exclaimed. I'll come along and point out all the little nuances that'll make you love her even more. They clambered into the truck, which started with a roar followed by a coughing sputter. Ah, that's her morning phlegm, Marv explained. She'll clear her throat if you just rev her a bit. The man laughed outright this time. Morning phlegm, huh? You've got a name for everything. Marv just nodded, proud. I like to personify these vehicles. Helps me connect with them and show customers that if you treat them right, they'll do the same in return. They rumbled down the street, the truck's suspension squeaking as if in protest. Still, the engine had some decent power. They came to a stop at a red light, and the man turned to Marv. So what's this baby going for? We've got her listed at $2,700, but I can reduce it to $2,500 for you. Maybe even throw in a free lube job if Manny has time. Another chuckle from the man. I'll keep the lube job in mind. But can you do $2,300? I gotta save a little for new tires, if needed. Marv stroked his chin. You drive a hard bargain. But for a fella who obviously needs something strong and reliable, I'll do $2,300. Let's call it a deal. They shook on it, and the light turned green. As the man drove back toward the dealership, he couldn't stop smiling. He seemed genuinely entertained by Marv's brand of automotive intimacy. Back at the lot, they filled out the paperwork, and soon enough, the man was the proud owner of a questionably reliable F-150. He drove off, the tailgate rattling ominously, leaving Marv to happily tick another car off his list. 15 more to go. But even as Marv celebrated yet another victory, he cast a wary eye at the fence line. The memory of those tattooed men lingered. He just hoped the neighborhood's rough edges wouldn't scare away any more prospects. He needed every sale he could get, double entendres or not. Scene 8. A run-in with the rival salesman. A few days later, Marv was standing outside in the midday sun, fanning himself with a laminated sign reading, $500 off. He had managed to sell 2 more cars, both older sedans, in the past 48 hours, bringing his total to 7. He was feeling confident, though the heat was merciless. Suddenly, a flashy convertible screeched to a halt near the entrance. outstepped a tall, slick-haired man in a sharp suit that looked more expensive than all of Shifty Mike's inventory combined. He wore aviator sunglasses and had a swagger that screamed, "I sell brand new luxury cars for a living." Marv blinked. "Can I help you?" he asked, curious as to why such a polished individual would grace Shifty Mike's humble patch of asphalt. The man lowered his sunglasses, revealing cold blue eyes. "You must be Marv," he said in a clipped tone. "I'm Cliff Banner, top salesman at Big City Motors down the road. I've heard rumors that you're cornering part of the used market over here, and I came to see the competition." Marv's grin faltered. "Competition? I'm just doing my best to move some vehicles for Shifty Mike." Cliff snorted. "Yes, well, I was intrigued by the tales I've been hearing. Word is you've got some interesting ways of describing cars. Double something or other." Marv scratched his head. "Double... Oh, you mean my emphasis on all the features? I do like to talk about them in detail." Cliff smirked. "Sure, let's call it that. Listen, I'm thinking of offering an aggressive buyback program and slashing prices on used cars at Big City Motors. If I scoop up the last of the local customers, where's that going to leave you?" Marv swallowed. Well, I have loyal customers. People who want a good deal and a personal touch. They don't need fancy showrooms or cappuccino machines while they wait." Cliff took a step forward, looming. "We'll see about that. But since I'm here, maybe you can show me how you pitch a car. Go on, pick one of your best. Show me your technique." Marv frowned, but tried to hide his discomfort. "All right, sure." He led Cliff to a battered Nissan Altima from 2003. "Take this beauty, for instance. She may look a little worn, but underneath she's packing a surprisingly energetic engine. Give her a good turn, and she'll come to life with a strong pulse that you can feel through the wheel." Cliff raised an eyebrow. "Interesting. Go on." Marv cleared his throat. "The interior might be small, but she cradles you well. Slide right in, and you'll see how snug it can be. It's like a welcoming embrace, especially if you grip the stick firmly." Cliff pressed his lips together, seemingly unimpressed. "That's a manual transmission, I assume?" Marv nodded. "Yep, a 5-speed. And you can shift easily once you get into the rhythm. She doesn't like it when you force it, so you gotta ease in and out. Once you've got that down, she'll purr with pleasure." Cliff let out a low chuckle. "All right, I see what you're doing. Sex sells, right? But these cars are so old, it's barely a fair comparison." Marv bristled. "I'm just describing the, user experience. People like to know how the car will respond. It's important." Cliff shrugged. "Good luck with that. I'm rolling out an ad campaign next week, offering newer models at used car prices. Once that hits, let's see if you can still push these jalopies off the lot." He turned on his heel, got back into his shiny convertible, and sped away, the engine roaring mockingly. Marv stood there, heart pounding. Was this guy for real? Could he sabotage Marv's sales streak? If Big City Motors was about to undercut Shifty Mike's prices, Marv's path to 20 sales would become even rockier. With a deep breath, Marv forced himself to calm down. "Bring it on, Cliff Banner," he muttered. "I'm not giving up that easily." He straightened his lucky tie and prepared for the next customer, whoever might be brave enough to venture into Shifty Mike's domain. Scene 9. The pawnshop owner's daughter. The next sale opportunity came later that afternoon, when a rough-looking older fellow in a leather vest rolled onto the lot in a squeaky old bicycle. He chained it to a lamppost, then surveyed the cars like a hunter looking for prey. Marv approached, stepping around a puddle of mysterious fluid leaking from a Buick. "Afternoon, sir. Looking for a particular type of ride today?" The man ran a hand through his bristly beard. "Name's Troy. I own the pawn shop down the road. Troy's Treasures. My daughter just turned 17, and I need a car for her. Something I can buy cheap, but that won't break down the minute she drives off. Marv nodded enthusiastically. We've got a few compacts that might suit your needs. Low price, decent mileage. Let me show you this '04 Hyundai Elantra. He led Troy to the small grey sedan. It's a shy little thing, but once you stroke the ignition right, she'll open up and give you a decent ride. Troy narrowed his eyes. Uh-huh. I just want something safe for my kid. Marv tapped the hood. Oh, she's definitely safe. The brakes are new. Manny replaced them just last week, so you can trust she'll come to a firm stop when you need it. No sliding around, no wobbling, just a nice, tight grip. Troy nodded slowly. All right, let's look inside. Marv opened the driver's door. Modest interior, but the seats are comfy. Give them a squeeze. They've still got good bounce. The back seat has plenty of legroom for friends, or, anything else your daughter might be hauling around, and the trunk is surprisingly deep if she wants to pack it in. Troy raised an eyebrow at the phrase, pack it in, but didn't comment. He checked the gauges. What about that check engine light that's on? Marv peered over his shoulder. Oh, well, Manny said it's probably just an O2 sensor. Not a big deal. If she's not satisfied, she can bring it in and Manny will pull it out, wiggle it around, and hopefully fix the problem. Troy let out a grunt. Sure he will. So what's the price? Marv ventured. Stickers at $2,000, but I can do $1,800 for you. Sound good? Troy pulled a wad of cash from his vest pocket. I got $1,500 on me. That's all I'm willing to spend. Cash. Marv fidgeted, torn. $1,500 was quite a bit lower than the sticker, but cash sales were easier and quicker, and he was behind schedule for hitting his quota. He could almost hear Shifty Mike's voice in his head. Get the sale, or you're out on your butt. All right, Marv conceded. $1,500, cash as is. But no free Manny checkup, okay? At that price, any checkup is on your dime. Troy nodded. Fine by me. My daughter's probably going to do half the maintenance anyway, so she'll figure it out. They shook hands, sealed the deal, and Troy counted out the wrinkled bills. As Marv wrote up the paperwork in the dusty office, Shifty Mike watched with narrow-eyed approval. A sale was a sale, after all, even if it was lower than desired. After Troy pocketed his paperwork and limped outside, Marv followed him, curious about something. You hurt your leg? He asked, noticing the slight limp. Troy shrugged. Vietnam War, man. It acts up now and then. Marv nodded respectfully. Thank you for your service, sir. Troy just grunted, unchaining his bicycle. As he walked his bike away, Marv felt a pang of guilt for selling him a car that might have more issues than he was letting on. But he quickly reassured himself. It was cheap, it ran, and Manny had recently checked it out. Sort of. And this was the 8th sale. He was inching closer to that magic 20. As the sun dipped lower, Marv began to pack up. He'd made some progress, but big city motors' threatened price cuts still loomed. Would tomorrow bring more customers, or would his streak sputter out like so many engines on this lot? Scene 10. The final push and a surprising conclusion. The weeks blurred together as Marv soldiered on, greeting every customer with the same chipper attitude, sprinkling his pitches with unintentional double entendres. Some folks found him endearing and happily walked away with a used car, convinced they'd just discovered the best-kept secret in San Bernardino. Others shook their heads, unnerved by the ramshackle condition of the vehicles or the rough neighborhood. Still, by the start of the 4th week, just a few days before the month-end deadline, Marv had managed to sell 16 cars, 4 short of 20. He was close, but time was running out faster than a cheap battery in winter. Shifty Mike was all over him. Marv, I never thought I'd see the day you sold 16 cars in a month. But you gotta push harder, buddy. We're almost out of time. And push, he did. Over the next 3 days, he managed to rope in 3 more sales, an ancient Mercury Sable, a dingy Subaru Outback, and a battered Pontiac Grand Am. Each sale included Marv's trademark commentary. She'll love it when you rev her in the morning. Just give her a gentle pump. And this baby can fit more junk in the trunk than you'd think if you work it just right. That brought him to 19 cars by the evening of the final day. Only one more needed, with just an hour left before closing. The tension was palpable. Marv paced the front of the lot, tugging at his lucky tie, now frayed at the edges from daily use, practically willing a customer to appear. Shifty Mike hovered in the background, arms crossed, sweaty brow creased with worry. Manny was in the garage, finishing up for the day, equally curious if Marv could pull off the improbable. Then, as if summoned by fate, a rust-spewing hatchback rattled up to the dealership. Out stepped a harried-looking young woman, tears in her eyes, carrying a toddler on her hip. Marv rushed over. "Miss, are you all right?" She sniffled. "My stupid car died on me again, and I need a replacement, like yesterday. I start a new job tomorrow, and I can't risk missing it." Marv's heart soared with compassion and a little excitement. "Well, you're in luck. We've got just the thing. Let me show you this 2005 Chevy Cobalt. It's got a few miles on it, but it's an easy ride, and it won't cost you an arm and a leg." The toddler squirmed, and the woman wiped her eyes. "Okay, I just need something that'll run without breaking down every 5 seconds." Marv guided her to the small blue Cobalt, opening the door for her. "Hop in, feel it out. She's a bit old, but still tight in all the right places. Once you get her going, you'll see she warms up faster than you'd expect." She raised an eyebrow but didn't comment on his wording. Instead, she slid in and started the engine, which coughed to life. "Sounds decent," she admitted. Marv nodded. "The AC's working pretty well too. Not too much blow, but enough to keep you from sweating too hard on those scorching days. And the back seat is roomy enough for a car seat. You can strap your kid in tight. No worries about him rattling around back there." She gave a half smile. "That's good. How much?" Marv took a quick breath. This was it. He couldn't overprice and risk losing the sale. He also couldn't drastically undersell, or Mike would roast him alive. "We have it at $2,200, but I can do $1,900. You'll need to sign an as-is form, though, so you understand it's not under warranty." She sighed. "I don't have a lot of money, but I can manage $1,900 if it means I don't have to worry about my car every day." Marv's face lit up. "Great. Let's finalize it before we close. Manny can do a quick fluid check. Make sure you're topped off before you leave. You'll be satisfied from front to back, guaranteed." She nodded, ignoring the innuendo. "Thank you. Really. I'm just grateful to get something reliable." Together, they marched into the office, the toddler tugging on her shirt. In record time, Marv filled out the paperwork, took her payment, and handed her the keys. She thanked him profusely, then left, her new, old Cobalt rumbling out of the lot. Marv sank into the rickety desk chair, hardly believing it. That was 20 cars in 1 month. He'd done it. Shifty Mike burst in, cackling with triumph. "You did it, Marv. Holy smokes, I would have never believed it if I hadn't seen it. You sold 20 cars in 30 days. That's a new record for this lot." Manny peeked in from the doorway, a rare grin on his usually gruff face. "Congrats, buddy. Guess all that talk about fluid changes and snug fits actually worked." Marv leapt to his feet, pumping a fist. "Yes, I did it. I guess folks really appreciate knowing how these cars can still satisfy their needs as long as you treat them right." Mike chuckled. "Yeah, we'll go with that. Now, Marv, I want to keep this streak going. You keep using your special skill or whatever, and maybe we can actually make a name for ourselves that doesn't involve words like lawsuit or scam." Marv beamed, tears of joy threatening to appear. "Thank you, boss. I won't let you down." And as the evening sun cast long shadows across the potholed asphalt, Marv realized he'd found his own bizarre calling. Sure, he was still that naive, awkward car salesman, but somehow his unintentional double entendre, his knack for making rust buckets sound alluring, had saved his job and in an odd way earned him the respect of his coworkers. Out near the fence, the tattooed men walked by, but this time they barely glanced at the dealership. It was as if, in celebrating his 20th sale, Marv's positive aura had, at least momentarily, chased the shadows away. Shifty Mike clapped him on the back. "Great work, Marv. Maybe next time we can aim for 25?" Marv laughed. "Oh, boss, I'll keep pumping 'em out until you can't take it anymore." Manny snorted. "And that right there is why I have job security. Someone's got to fix the aftermath." They all shared a laugh, and Marv stepped out into the lot for a final glance at the battered inventory. There might not be a single truly flawless car out there, but for one last moment it felt like all was right in the world. Tomorrow, the hustle would begin anew. But for now, Marvin McFeely was king of the used car lot, however sketchy, however battered, and he wouldn't trade that triumph for the world.